Alright guys, so today's a little different. I spent a little while fiddling around and wrote a kind of medium thing with Tkinter. It took me long enough and is kind of like, I spent enough time reading Stack Exchange articles that I didn't make a video of me coding it. So I'm going to give you a little walkthrough instead. It should be noted that this did take me a solid couple hours to get this right. I had something working and I wasn't really very happy with it, so I refactored it. And so now I've got this kind of thing that I'm more happy with, but it's complex enough that I don't want to torture you with the entire video of how it came about. So, disclaimer, you're seeing a kind of a finished product. So, the things we know from our easy example with Tkinter is, first I should import Tkinter. I spent a little time getting an image to display in the background. I'll probably assume that you've watched a separate video about how that went, because I'll make one. I haven't yet, but I will. Okay, so in order to do that, we need some stuff. Here's the stuff. Then we're trying to make a... let me show you what I was trying to make. So what I was trying to make was a coordinate converter. So here's my coordinate converter. I wanted to be able to type in the coordinates in the overworld and get the nether coordinates. If you've played Minecraft, you know why you want to do this. If you haven't played Minecraft, or you haven't played with nether portals enough to know why you would want to do this, in the overworld, kind of the world on the left, things are like sort of normal. In the nether, which is where you go through these big gates, if you walk through another gate, you end up in this place that roughly resembles hell. But you would maybe want to spend some time walking around there, because every block you walk in the nether is 8 blocks in the overworld. The thing that most people have trouble with is that the gates link, and they do so in kind of a funky way. So if you want to force gates to link, what you want to do is know exactly where they should be. If you want to know exactly where a gate should be, what you need to do is you need to calculate either the coordinates in the overworld or the coordinates in the nether, and then you need the other one to go build a gate in that specific spot. So I find myself doing this fairly often because I like to build little nether hub things. So say I had the overworld coordinates of 2,000, and say we're just about sea level at 65, and our z is negative 1,600. So if I want to know where I am, I should take these things and divide by 8, except for the height. The height just stays the same. So here I got 2,000 divided by 8 is 250, 65 just stays 65, and negative 1,600 becomes negative 200. Okay, so if I then go into the nether and I can't get to this place, so say I can't get to 250, but I can get to 270, I want to know where the optimal coordinate for that would be in the overworld. I just change it to 270 and hit this, and I see that, oh shit, that's actually a ways, right? Like from 250, I was at 2,000 blocks, 270, I'm at 2160. Okay, yeah, it's 20 blocks, factor of 8, yeah, 160 blocks. Like, that's a long ways. So this is why I'd want to do this, right? You can end up with gates linked together in weird triangles and stuff. Play Minecraft, it's fun. Okay, so this is what I want to make, right? So I want these buttons that convert from side to side. If I put something in here that doesn't work, I should get some kind of error message on the screen, but it shouldn't crash the program, so that if I fix it, I can go back and convert now. So this is what I want to make. In order to do that, what I found was I started writing code. Like, I made a label, I made 3 text entry boxes, I made a button. Then I realized that I needed to make another label and another 3 text entry spots and another button. And I felt like I was duplicating a lot of effort, because I was making like an overworld label and an overworld X entry box and an overworld Y and an overworld Z and an overworld button. And then I had to make an overworld error label, and it just seemed really stupid because then I just copy and pasted that code and changed everything to nether. And then I was finding that I was having to declare variables to keep the overworld coordinates and the nether coordinates, and it all just felt kind of awkward. So what I decided to do was refactor my code into some objects. So I made a 3-button menu class, which is really just holding the idea of this whole thing. Right. So if I look at my 3-button menu class, and I have, a nice doc string, I wrote some stuff. I have some variables. So I have an entry length variable that just controls how wide those text entry boxes are. It's all capitalized in accordance with PEP 8 because it's a constant. I'm not intending to change it. But if I wanted to change it, like say I found myself, building a base out at 200,000 units from center or something, then I might, make this, instead of making this 10 long, I might make it 12 or 14 or whatever. And then this target property, I should probably comment. I should probably comment this actually too. So this is the size of the entry boxes. And then the target is where are we converting to? And this is changed because I probably am not going to convert overworld coordinates to overworld coordinates, right? So this is changed using the, and if I scroll down, I have a set target method. Self.name is pretty self-explanatory, so I'm not going to comment that one. There's some string variables. Those keep the text entry boxes. TK has a string variable in it. That is so that you can update text boxes and buttons and stuff without calling the config methods. You can just call the configure methods. It is actually kind of easier to have them in here, but half a dozen, 1/6 of the other. So those are my contents of the text boxes. Then I have a frame that is kind of just a box that contains my menu. And then I'm anchoring it at some points that I'm passing along, right? Or sorry, I'm putting it at some points that I'm passing along. And then I'm anchoring it using the north side, which is the top. So that's the center of the top face is getting anchored there. And when I'm constructing these, I am passing the values 0.5 and 0.3, which you can see in my little window that my 3-button menu is a quarter of the way across the screen and a little bit more than a quarter of the way down the screen. Right, it's a third of the way down the screen to this point right here, which is what that anchor is about. So this thing it's a label and 3 entry boxes and a button all wrapped in a frame. So that's the self.containing frame contains all the things. And then each of these things is a label, right? That's an instance of the TK label class that's inside the frame. And then it's got some label that's a formatted string based on the coordinates. And then these things are placed using the grid method. So this is it's in the top row, right, the 0 row, the left column, the 0 column. It is 3 columns wide, and then it's got a little padding. The entry boxes themselves are all in the first row, right, not the 0 row, so the second row down, the first row. So they're in row 1, right? And they're in columns 0, 1, and 2, respectively. They've all got a little padding. They're all members of they're all kind of in the containing frame, right? And then they have widths that are this entry length, and then they have X text, Y text, and Z text text variables. So that's controlling what's inside of them. And then I have my button. It's inside the containing frame. It's got some text that says convert coordinates. That text actually gets changed later. We'll see that. And then it has this command that's calling the convert method. So when that button's clicked, what it does is it calls this convert method. And then it's positioned in the number 2 row, which is the 3rd row down in the left side, but then it's set to span 3. So that's why it's a nice wide button. I don't know why I keep killing that thing. Oh, it's not dead. It's just underneath stuff. Okay, so that's the top label is here, and then it's 3 columns wide. Then each of these are in 0 column, 1 column, 2 column, and then this thing's in row number 2, right? That's 0, 1, 2 rows. So it's in the row number 2, and then it spans those 3 columns. Okay, and then we have a set target method. Oh, sorry. And then there's also the error label, which is this guy. And so the error label is a label that's in the containing frame. Its foreground color is red. Hang on. Sorry about that. The dogs have once again successfully driven the male person away. Idiots. All right, so the set target method takes a target and a converting factor, and then it does what the docstring says it does, right? It converts and sets the place for the converting. And so it just does self.target is target and self.factor is factor. So that's just taking what it was input, right? And then it configures the text in my button to this formatted string so that it's saying convert to the other place's coordinates. Then I have my convert method, and really all that does is we go get what's inside the text entry boxes in the self one. So the one where you push the button, right? We go get the coordinates out of the boxes, and then we try to typecast and set. So we're going to try to typecast them to integers, and then we're going to set them to a rounded version of whatever the conversion factor is times the value. The Y one doesn't change, which maybe note. So that Y is not affected by this conversion to the nether. It is possible that will change. Right now, it should be noted that I'm working in 1.16.3. Minecraft is expected to continue working this way, but they may be changing some stuff with casing cliffs. I don't know. Okay, so if the typecast fails, then what we'll do is update and display the error label, right? So this is catching that value error, right? So this isn't going to crash the program because we're just catching the value error. So, yeah, I'm saying catch here. It should be noted that when I'm saying catch, I'm thinking JavaScript. We're accepting that value error. So we're saying, all right, that happened. Here's the thing we're going to do now. And the thing we're going to do is we're going to configure my error label to hold some new text, and then we're going to put it on the grid. And we're going to put it on the grid just below the button. So it's going to be in row 3 because the button was in row 2. It's going to be in column 0, so it's on the left-hand side. But then we're going to span it across the 3 columns. And then otherwise, which is this else. So we're trying to typecast. If the typecast fails, we're going to do this. If the typecast doesn't fail, right? In the case that the try block executes successfully, then what we'll do is we'll forget where we put that label. So what that's going to do is it's going to take it away but not delete it. So it's just not going to show up. Be warned, if you are taking away and adding labels, The forget method is not the one you want. Oh, also, this is the grid forget, so this forgets that it was placed on using the grid method. If you placed it using pack or place, then you would need pack or place forget rather than grid forget. Then I have my kind of main window that's running everything. I've got a window size. I've got some maximums and minimums set so that my picture that's in the background doesn't look too stupid. In order to get a picture in the background, I just got a photo image out of joining the file path for this file and this kind of background image. So that means this background image has to be in the same folder. It is on the Rappel if you need it for some reason. Then we're creating a background label out of that thing, and then we're putting the label into the window at the relative width and relative height one. And then I actually did think that that would be good to have resizable. Here's a Stack Overflow link to a way to do that. I just haven't implemented that yet. I might. I don't know. It actually works okay as it stands, so I'm not super duper worried about it. I kind of hacked it by using the min size and the max size. Okay, so all that shit is basically set up. So then the thing I want to do is I want to actually make two of these menus. I want to make an overworld menu and another menu. So I declare that overworld is going to be a member of the 3-button menu class, and I'm noticing that if I get hover over, I get all my kind of nice helpful tips. I liked putting in this, I thought this was clever of me, I put in this parameters thing that tells me what type of things I should have in these, just to, so I didn't have to keep looking up and down what it wanted. So that's the TK object, right? So the window that everything's going to run in, the relative x, the relative y, and the name of the thing, and then same deal for the nether. And then we want to point them at each other so that when you hit the button, it changes the other one, right? The reason that you don't want to just hard code this and that you can't do this at creation is if I try to pass an overworld the nether object hasn't been initialized yet. So if I want this kind of circular thing, this is almost a circular import, right? So if I want this to happen, what I need to do is make them and then point them at each other. So that's exactly what I'm doing. So I made them, and now I point them at each other, and they each exist, so they can be pointed at the other one. And then I've got my usual success diagnostic, and then the main loop is running this thing. I have one problem, which is when I was making that comment, I had a line that contained white space here. Huh? It says it contains white space, but it doesn't. Oh, I fixed it. Okay. Couple of things. If you run this and you get the window open, if the window is already open, the updates won't apply to it. You have to close it, and then it'll automatically reopen again. So, so I've hit run a few times. So you might notice that it's not getting the expected updates. Just make sure it's closed before you run it again. And that is pretty well that, except to say that when I put this on Rappel, the image doesn't show up in quite the right spot, and I'm not really totally sure why. I haven't fiddled with it for very long, so I'm not sure whether it's super fixable or not. So that's what there is. The other thing is that this is roughly what I expect in terms of comments with doc strings from you guys. Like, you don't need so many comments, right? Like, you can see that some of these things just have a doc string. They don't have any real comments. Some of them have a doc string and then a few comments. Mostly I'm just doing kind of block commenting style, which I feel like is probably plenty, especially if you're putting in good doc strings. I thought these doc strings were good. All right. Feel free to use this thing if you want it, or whatever. While I was getting ready to shut this down, I realized that there was a a thing that I think I can pretty easily implement. So let me show you what it is and see if we can implement it. So if I have some coordinates, and I have some other coordinates in this box, converting is going to overwrite the coordinates in the other box. Okay, cool. Now, the thing is, if I have been trying to convert these and I have some little error, I get an error message. If I have that same kind of error message over here, that's fine, right? Like, this is no problem. That one has an error, this one has an error. Shouldn't be a big deal. The thing that happens that I'm realizing I can fix is if I hit convert here, that erased the thing that caused the error over here. So I really would like to make that other error label go away. So what happened, right, the place I want to look in the code is when a successful coordinate overwrite has occurred, right? And so the successful coordinate overwrite occurs, and then I've been forgetting the error label that's a part of the one where I push the button. But I can also safely forget the error label placement for the other one. And so the way I forget the error label placement for the other one is I have access to it as target, right? I'm using target, X text, Y text, Z text, right? So I'm going to do target.errorLabel.gridForget. And now this should forget not only the error label that's on the side that I pushed the button on, but also the error label that's on the other side. Let's see if that works. Oops. Okay, and again, this is what I was talking about. So I pushed run. This friggin' thing was still open. So this one won't have the behavior that I wanted because this is actually the old version running. But now I have this one. Okay, so let me check with this. Okay, good. Oh, name target is not defined. Aha! Target isn't defined because it's not target. It is self.target. So like I said, I have access to it. I've been fiddling with it. Okay, so let's double check that now. Okay, so I have some coordinates. Converting's working fine. If I put an F in here, I get a non-numeric value in here. It erases. Okay, good. If I put a non-numeric value in there and a non-numeric. Okay, now they both have error messages. If I delete this one, it should delete that one. Or forget that one, right? Oops. Oh, that worked perfectly. Okay, so errors on both of them. If I remove the error on this one, it works. Negative signs, PS work. Oops, that's not gonna work. What is that? Oh, that'll work. Negative signs work just fine. Cool. All right. Kick ass. I'm pretty pleased with that.